Hey, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about portraiture and painting faces and capturing likenesses, that sort of thing. So, give you a little bit of history on what I've done. I want to show you some pictures that I've done in the past. I've done a lot of portraits and likenesses. Let me explain what I mean by the difference. A portrait, obviously, is a picture of a person that is recognizable, hopefully. Um, and basically, it's the head and shoulder shot. It could be a full body shot, I guess. But a likeness would be a person whose likeness you want to be able to recognize, or you want the people who know that person to recognize. And the likeness would be maybe they're in action, they're doing something, as opposed to posing for a portrait. I guess that's the best way to say it. So I've done portraits and likenesses in pastels. Here's a few of them right here. And I've done them in oils. Let's see, here's one of Robin. I think I have that one here somewhere. Yeah. And then there's Robin. That's oil painting I did of her. And let's see, this I did a likeness of the governor, former governor of Florida, Jeb Bush. Don't get political on me. It was an assignment. Come on. And then, of course, the children's books that Robin and I have done. This one is from a book called "Live to Sniff," and I think the panel is called "Puppy Dog Dreams." So yeah, a lot of pastels, a lot of oils, and I think I've done acrylics too. So, but the one thing I wanted to kind of focus this video on was the likeness of people like the one I did of Robin, the people you love, people who are super important to you, super close to you. Actually, a lot of the people in these portraits are or have been important or close to me in one way or another. So I did a portrait of my brother Bob on a glove compartment door. It was the idea of my nephew Chad, and Chad and Bob were very close. Bob didn't have any children of his own, and I always figured that Chad was probably as close to Bob as a son would have been if Bob had had a son. And so when my brother Bob died, of course it broke all of our hearts. And so I did a glove compartment door. And here's a couple of pictures of me doing that. And, a couple of video clips of me putting it together. And here's let me show one of Chad. He posted one on Facebook of himself driving the truck recently, not too long ago, with the finished glove compartment door in the truck and the truck running, which was important. And the truck, by the way, itself, the side story was a truck that Chad inherited from Bob after he passed. But anyway, then there's go way back to this video here. Okay, this is me. Wow, looking a lot younger. And I'm painting with pastel, and it's okay to call pastel paint, it's okay to call the finished product a painting because you're using the same technique. You can call the drawing, it doesn't really matter. It's pastel. This is pastel on velour, and this was a painting I did of my sister Doreen, who also had passed, and her husband Tim. So the video that I'm putting on, that just looking at right here, is has a song over it on YouTube. The song is called "The Likeness of Love." It's a song I wrote, and in the song it talks about the torture of the portraiture. I just thought that phrase was kind of cool and accurate, because you are when you do a portrait, if you've done a portrait at all, whether it's, take a look at this one. This is me sketching some kids at an event a long time ago. Boy, talk about looking young. Here's another one. So yeah, I used to do these quick sketches at different fundraisers, etc. And the line was horrendous. You couldn't manage it. It took about 15 minutes, maybe 20, to do a sketch. There's no guarantee that the likeness is going to be accurate. Sometimes in 15 minutes you have the rough thing, and you've got to in an actual portrait. You have to refine it. You have to make it better. In 15 minutes, people wanted miracles, and I was, I always say I was 90% good at that. I was 90% of the time I captured a likeness, but not always. And sometimes when I look back at some of the quick sketches, if people have saved them, they'll show me, and I'll say, "Wow, I don't think I got you," or "Wow, I got you really good, didn't I?" or whatever. All right. So all of that said, I'm basically talking about portraitures and likenesses in this video here. So the most recent one is this one right here. Now that is another painting of my brother Bob. He's the driver in that Jeep. And the man with the gun is his friend Mark Cohen. And Mark and Bob were really close friends for a very, very long time. And they used to go out to this shooting range in the desert somewhere, maybe Arizona, maybe California, I'm not sure where. But they would ride. I guess one would ride and one would shoot. I don't know. I never did it. It would have been fun to have done it. But the way Bob was holding the steering wheel with a grip, in the photograph that I used as a reference photo, which Mark sent me, by the way, you can tell he's going fast. Bob liked to drive fast, so that goes without saying. So I want to show you how I did this particular painting. And I'm going to have to turn off this recorder so that I can narrate it as it's playing. But, okay, let me do that right now. I'll start the time lapse of the painting of that picture. And, but I wanted to kind of introduce you to the whole idea of portraiture. The painting of Bob in the Jeep with Mark is a digital painting. Now, digital art is new to the world, and so everything I did before digital was, on paper or canvas. And but I've been enjoying digital, and digital is no different. Well, it's very different in many ways. But I mean, as far as your approach, you still have to think about composition and color and lighting and all that. So the big difference is you don't have messy paint. Your fingers don't get blue from the pastel. All right, let me turn on the other thing and I'll narrate that. All right, so there's the, a quick look at the finished painting. Again, this is digital, and the iPad is what I'm painting on, and the app I'm using is called Procreate. And because it's time lapse, it went through the very first part super quick. The app records each stroke of the painting, so I have a tendency to scrub, meaning I'm not lifting the pen or the stylus off of the screen, and so that's considered one stroke, and so that's why it looks so quick. But it really wasn't as quick as it looks here. And so the first thing to do, obviously the two people, my brother and his friend Mark, the likeness of them was going to be important. And keep in mind that likeness in a picture like this is clearly not the same as the likeness in a portrait, because in a portrait you're kind of close up to the person, you're looking into their eyes, you can see every little hair in their head, or at least a facsimile of every little hair in their head. With this kind of picture, which I love this kind of picture, oh my gosh, I am so much more enjoying, I so much more enjoy pictures that tell a story. Portraits are nice, and maybe for me personally, it's because I've done so many portraits. I really have done a lot of them. And maybe for me, moving on to something else that's more storytelling is perhaps why I like doing these. I mean, you think about it, Robin and I have been doing children's books, and every time you do an illustration for a children's book, you're telling a story. And so it just makes sense to transition from, fictional little stories for children to stories about life, period, just stories about life. And so this is, again, just to repeat what I said earlier, this was a painting done by request from Bob's friend Mark. So just to recap, Bob is driving the Jeep in this picture. Bob is my brother. Bob has passed away. The gentleman with the gun in the picture is Mark, and Mark and Bob were very close friends, and Mark had sent me about 7 or 8 photos, and he asked me to pick one and do a painting from it. One of the photos he sent me would have been a portrait of Bob, and I kind of wanted to do a picture of Bob that captures his likeness, that also tells a little bit about him and about his life and about his loves. And this was one of the things he loved doing. When he died, and my brother Bill, my brother Tom, my nephew Chad, his wife Wendy, Robin, and the kids, and Bob's friend Steve, we all went out to Bob's place in Arizona, in the desert, to clean up the property so that it could be sold. And there were a lot of bullets. He used to make his own bullets, and guns, a lot of guns and rifles, etc. He was a mechanic guy. He liked things like that. One of the things, just getting back to the art real quickly, is when you watch the time lapse, sometimes it looks like I'm doing nothing. What's probably happening, well, I know what's happening, is I'm doing the little tiny details that I didn't zoom in on. So that's what I'm doing when it looks like I'm doing nothing. So, and at this point, you can see that I got the likeness. It's good enough. And it's an amazing thing that you can capture a likeness with a few strokes of the brush, whether it's digital or in real paint. Just make sure you get the shapes right. Just make sure you got the lighting right, and you'll have it. So I actually have done a time-lapse narrated video of this particular painting, but I wanted to do it again so that I could focus on the likeness part of what we're doing here, and also just kind of revisit some of the stuff from the past. I've had some of you ask questions regarding digital, and one of the concerns is that if you do digital, will you lose your touch for traditional art, for painting and pastels? And well, you know what? I don't think so. I mean, it's kind of like riding a bike. I don't think it's going to happen. Maybe, because I go back and forth anyway. I still do traditional art. Robin and I just did an art show. I just slurred my words, didn't I? Robin and I just did an art show up in New Jersey. And the paintings that were on the wall there were all, what were they? They were acrylic. Yeah, acrylic on canvas, and one on wood. So, yeah, I guess maybe you could lose your touch, but think about it in terms of music. Like, would you forget how to play a guitar if you suddenly were using a synthetic instrument of some sort, maybe a keyboard, or even digitally writing in music? Because Robin and I have done that too, where you actually have a screen where you type, not typing in, but using the mouse to put in notes, and I don't think you lose it. Why? You have to keep doing it, Anyway, enough of that said. And the other thing about doing likenesses and portraiture, and I was kind of going in that direction in the intro part of this, there's a connection. I'm going to say the word psychic. I don't want you to flip out and think I mean anything supernatural. I mean, maybe it is, I don't know, but there's some kind of a connection that happens for me, and I'm guessing it happens for a lot of artists, when you're spending so much time working on somebody's likeness, when you're with that person as your pen, your pencil, your paper, the brush, the stylus in the case of digital, you are there. You're with them. You're thinking about them. You're focused, so intent. When I used to do the quick sketches, it could be cold outside. We'd be doing them outdoors, like at the Appleton Museum one time that comes to mind. And we were outdoors, and it was cold, but I didn't even realize it was cold until after the event was done. And when I stopped sketching, I got this deep chill, and I told Robin, I got to get warm. I'm so cold. But I didn't even notice it was cold because I was so focused. I know, it's like a Zen thing or whatever. I don't know. Or a meditative thing. And in addition to that, to like losing touch with what's going on around you somewhat, you are with the person. In the portrait I did of my sister Doreen, the whole reason for the song, The Likeness of Love, which says the torture of the portraiture, Doreen was gone, and there I was doing a portrait of her, and for the day that it took to do that one, I was with her. And here's the thing, the person doesn't have to be deceased. When I was doing this one of Bob, for example, he's deceased, and I was with him, which there's a real psychic thing for you, right? I mean, I'm not really with him. Who knows? Maybe I am. I don't know. You guys figure that one out. But it could be somebody else, I've done so many portraits, and I would do whole families. When I worked at an assisted living facility, I would have people ask me all the time to do pastel portraits. And quite often they would give me a picture of their family. And I would only know like one person in the picture. That's the person I worked with. And I did not know the other people. But yet, when I was painting their faces and capturing their likeness, and it would take a couple of hours per person, I'm with that person for a couple of hours. And when I would give the painting back to the person who asked for it, I would say, does your son drive not a Jeep, I'm looking at a Jeep here, but does your son play basketball? Does your son? And they would, I don't know, they would think I'm guessing or something, but it wasn't that. It was that I would have this like flash in my brain of a basketball or of a jersey, somebody playing basketball. It was crazy. There was one guy I was painting one time, and I saw a fireman's uniform on him, and he wasn't wearing a uniform. And I said to him, "Are you a fireman?" He was sitting in front of me. I was doing a quick sketch, and he said, "Yeah, how do you know that?" And I said, "I don't know, it just flashed, and I don't want to pretend I can tap into anything like that." But anyway, okay, I guess I went on a couple of tangents in this one. If you watch these videos to learn how to paint, the best advice I can give you is just do it. Okay? Thank you for spending some time with me again. And again, this video is kind of an aside, a bonus one from what Robin and I normally do, but I wanted to share this with you. All right, kids, take care, be good, don't forget to write, and as Robin will tell you, the world spins fine on her own, baby. The world spins fine on her own.